be honored about what you're doing and having this league and trying to have more interest
Yeah.
for African Americans playing baseball because it's I heard it was like 6%, and there are a lot of talented African American players out there. They really are.
And get you up
Okay,
there for that dedication service.
all right, that
Mhm.
sounds good.
Welcome back to the crew247.com, talking sports around the world with the coach, Michael E. Mayden, and Wani Wan. Wani Wan's on assignment today, so I got his fill-in, Richard Allen. Richard Allen is the son of a forgotten man in this modern day era of baseball. That is the one and the only Richard Anthony Allen, aka Dick Hitman Allen. And we got his son on the show today. How we doing?
Great, great. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me and letting me fill in.
Well, thank you for accepting our invitation. Now,
Oh, you're
we
welcome.
want to talk about Dick Allen. I mean, he was a pioneer and a legend in his own time. And it seems that baseball, Major League Baseball, has passed him on and forgotten about his legacy. So what's your thoughts about
Um, that's correct in saying that. I've heard from several people that brought it to my attention. Like so when they say like his career home runs 351.
that? Mm-hmm.
Today they look at it as only 351 career home runs.
Mm-hmm.
With more players hitting more and more with the upgrades to the game, the fields in the 70s being smaller, his stats and numbers get pushed down. And as you mentioned, they do seem to get overlooked and forgotten. But during his time, those stats were huge.
Yeah. Now, let's just reflect back a little bit over some of his accomplishments out of the gate.
Mhm.
Dick Allen was the 1964 Rookie of the Year. Now,
That's
for
correct.
African American men back in that day, that was saying a lot.
Definitely was. I mean, I obviously younger during those times. Well, rookie of the year, I wasn't even born yet, but
Mm-hmm.
as I got older and I start to know myself these things, and I look back, I was like, man, he had a heck of a rookie season to do what he did. I mean, they put that team on his shoulders
Mm-hmm.
going down there before that infamous collapse of the '64. they lost the. They had even started printing tickets for the championship, and they or for the pennant, and they lost it. But yeah, he was like, man, that was a lot of pressure on a 22-year-old kid or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, looking at some of his stats, and he was, I must admit, before my time. So, I had to go back in the history books and look at his stats. But Dick Allen, Hitman, was a
Hmm.
seven-time All-Star in Major League Baseball from 1965 1970 and 1972 through 1974. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And '72 was the leading vote getter.
So,
So,
I mean, did you ever have any discussions with him about his major league career, his life, and what things was like for him?
near the end, of closer to his death, we talked, and we talked baseball more, in depth. But during when he was playing, not so much. It's like if he could get away from it and get his mind clear, which was everyone relates to him being with the horses.
Mm-hmm.
That was his escape, his getaway to clear his mind. But yeah, we talked. He just reminded me of something. Speaking with my son, we talked in depth. It was the All-Star game in Anaheim, and the National League won. I think it was 2-1. Callison hits the winning home run, but my father hit the first home run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on YouTube if anybody is interested to take a look. It's the All-Star game in Anaheim. And immediately when I asked him about that at bat, instantly he went, "Oh, the shadows." Because there were shadows, and that's how I guess he believed that's why it was such a low-scoring game because no one could really see until like the later innings. Well, and that first hit that, you know, I'm not trying to go on, but the first at bat, the first pitch is out in the other batter's box,
Mhm,
and I watched him take his foot, swipe it. No, no, he took his bat and drew like a looked like an arc.
mhm,
So I something just made me ask him. I said, "Now, if I had to guess, you were, taking pitches away." And this, and we really had an in-depth talk, which we never really had. And I mean, I always remember that. I mean, and
mhm,
we started talking, and he was like, "That pitch out there, I took it away. I drew a line, so there, I know if it goes here, if he throws it there, I know not to swing,
mhm.
and I'm looking for something inside that line." And the
Okay.
ball that he hits out, it was a low and away outside corner, and he took it to right or right center. So yeah, we talked about things like that, base stealing. Yeah, he more so in the end of his life, he talked to me more personally about baseball and who uh, Hall of Fame picks he'd ask. Did they lead the league in anything? He
Mhm.
wanted to know more things, like that. But I'm sorry, I'm reminiscing. He was just making me think of things that we talked
That's all
about.
right. That's what we want to hear. A lot of things the audience don't know. I again during this history, we heard some good and bad about Dick Allen, which all of us got some good and bad. But the
Hmm.
greatest memory I would have of Dick Allen, I had opportunity been some years back, but to interview him, and he really impressed me as a humble, gentle giant.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think that's part of one of the reasons why he never really talked much about baseball. He didn't talk about high school sports, high school basketball, horses. I mean, just about anything else, but he rarely talked about baseball. Um, the humbleness is just baseball is a humble game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Was you real quick, and he was one that was humble. Like I heard when he won the MVP, one of the clubbies had to pack it up and send it to him. He felt that he didn't deserve all the credit for everything, and that's a true story. I mean, I met the one clubby. Uh, yeah, they left it. He left it in his locker. They had to send it to him.
Well, see, that's the
Yeah,
difference with me and him because they wouldn't have been able to pack it up. I would have had it walking out the door and made sure everybody's throwing on my way.
yeah. I don't know. I go through my grandmother's house, all the accolades, the trophies, this basketball state champ. They just sit there. He just goes, ah, he doesn't think much of it.
So let me
So
ask you
yeah.
this: in your younger days, coming up around him, and or in his latter days, were you ever introduced to any of the Major League Baseball players that he played with, past, present, or some of the stars of the game? Did you have that opportunity?
Oh my goodness, yes. I When he was traded to St. Louis, the Cardinals had their own plane. So I was traveling. When he went to the Dodgers, they had their own plane. I was traveling with the team there. I missed like 42 days of school traveling with the team. So yeah, and then with the White Sox, I used to have my uniform, and I would go to the ballpark with my uncle Hank.
Mm-hmm.
Rest his soul, he just recently passed Wednesday. I'd go to the ballpark with him, and then I'd go shag and be out in the outfield with my uniform. 7 o'clock, there was a rule I had to be out of the dugout by 7 for game time, and I'd go shower. So yeah, I interacted with the players, and uh, today I still, going back to Philly for alumni weekends, I still people that he played against, played with. Yeah, I interact with them. They're a bunch of good guys. I mean, it's some of the things that they talk about is just like what you're saying. I mean, they're just, oh man, just a humble guy. Just that's Jim Cott, Mike Schmidt, all of these guys are like real good friends.
So you mean that's all the days you missed out of school? If I was hanging around with them, I would have never went to school.
Well, with that, I was brainwashed. You couldn't tell me there was no other job better than what. I mean, that's all I saw. I'm traveling and had my own bag, luggage. I'm walking with the team. Shoot, man, I was. I thought I was in the big leagues.
Well, see, that's different me and you. I would have been out there signing some autographs.
Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah,
let's talk.
that was fun.
A League of Our Own Baseball honoring Dick Allen. One of the teams in our league shall bear the name Dick Allen Hitmen. Dick Allen played 15 seasons in the MLB. He was the 1964 National League Rookie of the Year, a 7-time MLB All-Star between 1965 and 1974. He was the 1972 American League MVP for the Chicago White Sox, and he led the American League in RBI.
Let's talk about your dad days with Chicago White Sox. In
Mhm.
1972, Dick Allen was the most valuable player. He led the team in RBIs, and he basically, history says he revived that franchise that was on its way down, and he pumped life into it. He hit home runs. He became a fan favorite, and
Yeah, Chicago.
you know,
I'm sorry, Chicago, because you have me thinking. When he missed by one vote in San Diego, Roland Heeman was out there, who was the GM with the White Sox, I
mm,
believe. He told me to my face. He said, "Your father saved this franchise."
mm,
And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they were packing up to leave, and he was putting butts in the seats, and people were coming out just to watch to see what was going to happen next." I mean, I've had some real great conversations with Goose Gossage about some of the stuff. Oh, he's like, "Oh man, some of the stuff your old man used to do." He's like, it was just endless. He couldn't believe it. Like, so, I I remember that year. I just remember the difference between the fans and between Philly and the booze. Of course, the booze started after the altercation with the teammate, but then when they got to Chicago, it was just cheers and Nancy Faust with the organ, and boy, it give you goosebumps when he was on deck. And man, and that one story, my father didn't even tell, and I asked him about it, and he laughed. He just kind of shrugged his shoulders and laughed. The story with bases loaded, and I think it was Sparky Lau, and whoever he walked to get bases loaded was going down first and was saying, "You're in some deep blank now," because 15 was coming up. So yeah, there are some great stories about Chicago. He loved Chicago. He really did.
yeah. Well, he told me some of his stories by way. He found out what the bright lights was like in Chicago.
He
Now,
did.
now, I mean, again, he comes from small means. I mean, how humbling is it for you to realize this was your dad? These were the accomplishments he made, and do people recognize you even today as Dick Allen's son?
They do in Philly, because as you know, as he's being somewhat forgotten. So like here, I'm in Florida. People don't really, but say if I'm around the ballpark, I'm in Philly. Like as of right now, like the Phillies are in Philly, they're doing a mural with him, and I'm around. They go, "Hey, oh my gosh, it's Dick Allen's kid. He looks just like him. He looks just like him." So yeah. In Pennsylvania, in those areas that are like that, Wampum, where I believe that's probably the start of the humbleness. Very small town, Tooten, Wampum, that real small, it's out 40 miles north of Pittsburgh. He was just a small town kid, but didn't have a problem speaking his mind.
Now, in an effort to promote diversity in baseball, a league of our own, developmental baseball league, will be starting a fall league to help promote, again, diversity in baseball, and in our
Mhm.
efforts to carry on Dick Allen's legacy to past and present generations. We will be naming one of the teams in our league the Dick Allen Hitmen.
I like that.
What's your thoughts about that?
I like that. I like that a lot. My thoughts on it is, it fits the athlete. I mean, him hitting the deep home runs, what he's known for, the monster home runs, it just fits the name to a T. The Hitman. And the bat, you know, the 42-ounce bat, the 36-inch 42-ounce bat, just yeah, that's a Hitman. That's that was a weapon. I mean, but you know, he himself, he's like, you know, I on a side note, he's like, I didn't get much pleasure out of hitting the home runs. He's like, I got more pleasure out of trying to undress somebody out there, just handcuff that shortstop, or you know. That's what I was saying. Another Goose Gossage, he said, "Oh man, your father hit one back at a pitcher and it looked like a yard sale out there. His just hat was here, glove was over, you know, things like that." Yeah, but he hitting, and I don't know if you know this. He actually switched hit.
No, I didn't know that.
He could hit left-handed and hit him out. He was told to stay on the right side because the Phillies at that time were heavy on the lefties with lefties. So he, he could hit on both sides. So that's a hit, man.
So now you want my audience to think that he was multi-talented.
You know, basketball, he was 5'8", palm two basketballs and dunk from a standstill. Go up one hand, come down, come other. Yeah, he's just roll out of bed talented. That's like that type of athlete.
Now I gotta ask Darvish question with this father-son duel. How come we ain't got you in the big leagues?
Oh man, I tried. I really did. But I think I was being looked at as to what he did.
Yeah.
And I told people, I said, man, I tell you what, I couldn't hit a ball that far if I was standing at second base. I just looked on something on Twitter, and there was people. It was a post about Mickey Mantle hitting a, I don't know, 500 and something foot home run.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments, people were like, "Oh no, that's just, it's a fake. It's a lie. No one can hit a ball that far." And physics or science wouldn't allow it. There's no way. Well, good friend of mine, Mark Carfagno Frog, he discovered that he hit in his career 20 home runs that went over 500 feet.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a hit, man.
That's it.
500 push. I was going to say when he played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the Eastern League, he hit 13 opposite field home runs, and the stadium at the time, I'm trying to remember the measurements. Anyway, it was the right field fence, and it was a road, and it was a public pool. And I was told by another good friend and writer, Bill Kachatis, he said, yeah, that was about his average. He was hitting him in the pool, where the public pool that we're going. So he was going opposite field with power. You fit the name for that team, and you recognized him well with naming that team after him.
Sound like he was a man among boys.
I think it's just the hand strength he had. I mean, his hands were just, I mean, they were like meat cleavers. Actually, all of them. My uncle Hank, my uncle Ron, my father, my uncle Caesar. They were just very strong. My grandfather used to lift refrigerators by himself. They were just strong, just really strong.
So what do you think he would have to say if he was here and found out that Blue Baseball was dedicating a team in his name and his honor?
I think he'd be flattered, and he'd be more honored and flattered as to what you're doing. There it is again. We talked about later on in his life, and he was saying about how young men don't play baseball. We had that conversation, and I remember when the team from Chicago, the Little League team from Chicago that went to the Little League World Series, and they stripped him in. He asked me, did I know somebody? And I found who the person was, and he felt so bad for him. I got him 2 hats that they wore, and he wore those hats to autograph signings, anywhere he could be seen with that hat, and he just wanted people to ask him about it. So yeah, he'd be honored about what you're doing and having this league and trying to have more interest for African Americans playing baseball, because I heard it was like 6% opening day.
If that high.
If it's that high. Yeah. And there are a lot of talented, African American players out there. They really are.
Well, that means we're going to have to get you a Lou shirt and hat so you can ride around when you go to Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. I cover up the gray. I'll put that cap on.
You see, let me ask you this question. In doing my research, Dick Allen, on 4 different occasions, was nominated for the Hall of Fame. And I believe on each occasion he came up 1 vote short. 1 vote short. I mean, was that devastating, or was that just something that you just take in stride?
Well, the first one, I felt like, man, I called him up. I said, you got beat at the wire. Just okay. He laughed and he said, I'm glad he said, it's over. He said, that's it. I said, well, no, there's going to be another one. And he's like, well, the second one. Now, I think the second one stung a little bit more because they said, oh, we couldn't vote because of COVID, but they still voted for the most recent players, players that, they voted for a certain group, but not the group he was in. It was still COVID. So that's why that second one stung a little bit more. He, on the other hand, he was happy for the ones that he's like Tony Oliva. Yeah, he's like, yeah, Jim Cotton, those guys. He felt like they deserved it. Actually, the one year he felt, I think Gil Hodges missed it as well. He felt that Gil Hodges should have got it even over him. That's just who he was. But yeah, it gets emotional because you get hype. We were sitting there, we had a watch party, and we're thinking, yeah, this is going to be it. Get his just due. You just get disappointed.
And then a lot of that in reality is a popularity contest too.
And yes, yeah. He's like, he said, I don't know. He said, I'd rather win ball games than be known as a good guy. That's it. He's like, he's a good guy, but a good guy, I don't know. Can they win you a ball game? He'd say stuff like that.
But that has to be the most ultimate pinnacle to rise to the top, to be recognized by all of history for eternity, that you made in your profession as a Major League Baseball player, the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine, because I know after the Phillies retired his number, and I go to the stadium and I look around and I see that 15, and it gives me goosebumps. Like, you know what? He's cemented for life with them like that, and so I can't even imagine overall with the Hall of Fame, if that happens, what that would be like. For someone that didn't play, I can't even imagine how that feeling would be for someone that did play. That's got to be, like you said, the ultimate feeling of, man, I'm lost for words. Steven's trying to describe it.
Dick Allen led the American League in home runs 2 times in 1972 and 1974. He was on the ballot 4 times for the MLB Hall of Fame, but fell short 1 vote each time. In an effort to forever invoke this forgotten general, memory in the hearts and minds of past, present, and future generations, we are honoring his legacy, history, and accomplishments of this MLB icon. If you are a baseball player that would like to be a member of this team, or would like to become a booster, donor, or sponsor, www.al247.com.
So do you sometimes just pinch yourself and say, man, that was my dad?
Every now and then when people tell me things, I go, wow, I'm more proud. It was a few years, maybe 6, 7 years ago. We were over at Clearwater during spring training. And we're walking through the crowd, and he's looking at the rookies and the prospects, and the minor leaguers, I should say. And this guy walks up behind, because I always kind of separated myself with him, because sometimes people just come up and go, "Hey," and they could grab you. So this guy is whispering. He goes, "I think that's Dick Allen. I think that's Dick Allen." He goes, the guy goes, "Man, he doesn't look that big." And the other guy goes, "I remember he hit one in spring training that it took the aluminum light off of it went out. It took the aluminum light and carried it with it. The baseball carried it, and it kept going." He was only, they listed him as 5'11", but he's about 5'10" and a half, only about 180 pounds. And yeah, it is, I got lost in my conversation, in the question, but I'm really honored, and I look at it now from other people. They tell me, because he would never tell me. Other people would tell me about the things that he used to do. So I'm more proud to be junior now than ever. I really am.
Let me share some insights for those fans that don't know on this legend and unsung hero. Dick Allen, in 1972, led the league in home runs with 37, setting a team record. RBIs 113 and walks 99, while winning the MLB, Major League Baseball Most Valuable Player Award. In addition to that, Dick Allen made the All-Star team 3 times as a member of the Chicago White Sox. Dick Allen played 15 seasons of Major League Baseball. On July 31st, 1972, Dick Allen became the first player in Major League history to hit not one but 2 inside the park home runs in one game off of Bert Bylevin. That's a lot. That was
a lot. And I've gone back and watched the video on that, and he's like, I gave up a lung trying to get around that second one. The second in the park. It's like, oh man, when he slides and he hits the ground, then I'm like, yeah, that's a great year. Just missed the Triple Crown. I mean, that's a heck of a season to have right there. And when you're describing it, you gave me goosebumps.
I think he gave a lot of people goosebumps.
Wow. Oh, Chicago.
And then, we talk about the salaries, $700 million to one player, and players making $20, $30, $40 million. In 1973, he earned a 3-year contract. Dick Allen became the highest player in Major League Baseball, which was a record at that time. And that was in the 70s. I mean, that was equivalent to $5-10 million today, easily.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he obviously talked about that. He said, man, these guys today, they walking around. He's like, that's just walking around money. What he was making, he's like, I just walk around with that. Yeah, he talked about that. He's like, I wonder what I would have made if I'd have played today. That's all. He would say that every now and then.
Well, when I interviewed Maury Wills some years ago, God rest his soul, and I asked him about the salaries that players are getting today in the major leagues, he said, man, guys that I played with, they would turn over in their graves with their kind of talent.
Yeah, man. I mean, as you know, like you said, it's for the time, it's like the 700, but still, it has a different ring to it today. It's 700 mil, man. It was good speaking with you.
I'm enjoying this. We're going to definitely have to do it again and get you up here for that dedication service.
That sounds good.
Dick Allen, number 15, was retired by the Philadelphia Phillies on September 3rd, 2020. He was inducted into the Phillies Wall of Fame. Were you there for that?
I was there for the number retirement. When he became the Wall of Famer. I was not present for that, but I was definitely there for the number retirement. Uh, I called him, and well, let me back up a little bit. The year before, they named him ambassador of the club.
Mhm.
So I called him up. I said, "Hey, excuse me, is this the ambassador?" And he laughed, and so we got a joke out of that. And then after they retired the number, I called him and I said to congratulate him, and all he said was he was a bit speechless, and he said they didn't have to do that. I said what? He said he said retire the number. They didn't have to do that. I said you're right, they didn't. I said but you deserved it. And I left him speechless with that one. So I said, you earned that whole thing. I said, your number deserves to be up there. And he just kind of like shrugged his shoulders and said, yeah. But he was definitely taken back by that. He really was. I mean, that's his number because he said, I don't know, it's just something about that number I like. And I look at it differently now in my eyes today. I really do. At 1-5, it's like I guess it was for him. It was like a racehorse. He looked at it as something. I'm getting carried away, but it's like something that he looked at it like with strength, and in that number, it was like there was power in that number or something like that.
A League of Our Own is a self-funded, independent developmental baseball league that offers baseball players that have completed their high school and or college eligibility an outlet to continue playing baseball. We are a fall league. This league is designed to develop the whole baseball player, both on and off the field. We offer nonstop baseball. This league is dedicated to the generations of baseball players who were denied the opportunity to play baseball because of factors other than their ability to play the game. The requirements for this league are baseball talent and ability. If you would be interested, you can log on to our website at www.aloo247.com. That's ALOO247.com. Thank you and help us spread the word.
Once again, I had the opportunity to interview him, and two things that struck me was his humbleness and that he had reconciled his life because it came across very strongly to me that he was definitely a God-fearing man.
Oh, definitely. That was my grandmother. That's definitely my grandmother. Yeah, she didn't mess around with, she just didn't. She said, "I'm not mean. I'm just a little strict," and she carried her Bible with her wherever she went. And when all of the brothers left home to go play,
Uh,
they were given a verse, and she gave them a Bible to take. And there's something, a poem that she gave them to keep and to remember. I'll actually have to find it and I'll send it to you through your email. And it had to do with God's Hall of Fame. Yeah, she was very, very, very much into the church.
Nothing like a mother now. I got 191 and I wouldn't know what to do if something happened to that girl.
Oh my goodness, bless her.
Precious.
91.
So I understand the mothers now. They leave an impact that no one can ever explain, but they leave an impact.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
And they know how to make them husbands fall in line too.
Yeah, she was, ooh, man, she was straight to the point. That's probably where he got his directness from. He just, boom, I'm gonna tell you like it is. She pulled no strings with you.
Dick Allen made his major league debut on September 3rd, 1963, with the Philadelphia Phillies. In addition to playing for the Phillies, he played for the Cardinals, the Dodgers, the White Sox, and his last major league game was on June 19, 1977 with the Oakland A's. What's your memories on
I was thinking, wow, my memories. I was like, Dad, can I go? I'm going to Oakland. We're going to Oakland. He's like, and I was older at the time, and he wasn't gonna let me miss school and things like that. And I do remember very little. I remember having breakfast with a teammate, Billy North. His name was Billy North, rather. I went to Boston. Maybe they were playing in Boston. And I also remember the Wampum 60 on his back and not the traditional 15. Apparently, it was a number issue. I guess whoever had it didn't want to give it up, and he said. So I told him, forget it. I want to recognize my hometown, and so Wampum, instead of the last name Allen, he had 60 of his year of graduation. That's what I remember that, and the white spikes. Most teams weren't wearing white spikes and the different color uniforms, and oh my gosh, they had so many different uniforms. I remember because I used to always stand by his locker, and I remember him getting dressed. Well, he went into his locker to put something on. And normally they had it hanging out. It's like, this is what the one you're wearing today. And my father used to take his time getting dressed. If you look at pictures, you'll see like thermals, long underwear. He took his time and he stop talk. Well, he got completely dressed. And I said, Dad, you got the wrong uniform on. And he looked around. They all had I think it was a green jersey on. He had the yellow jersey on, and all. So he's got to come out all this stuff. And that's the only recollection I have of Oakland. No home run, nothing like that. What I see him in Oakland are pictures, but I was about in 7th grade or so at that time, so I was home, wasn't allowed to travel.
You wasn't gonna miss no more school, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't. Boy, that pushed me back a whole year. I should have graduated before I did.
The coach, Richard Allen, the son of the unforgot hero of Major League Baseball, Richard Dick Hitman Allen. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to definitely us doing this again.
Oh, I appreciate it. This is a way to start my morning off talking about something like this. I'm going to have a good rest of the day. And thank you. Thank you again for that.
We'll be in touch. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Coach, wrapping it up. See you on the next show. Peace out. Give my orders a peace sign. There you go. From the man. So what do you think he would have to say if he was here and found out that Blue Baseball was dedicating a team in his name and his honor?
I think he'd be flattered, and he'd be more honored and flattered as to what you're doing. You fit the name for that team, and you recognized him well with naming that team after him. And the bat, the 42-ounce bat, the 36-inch 42-ounce bat, that's a hit, man. That was a weapon.